So now we're recording. We'll just wait for one more member, and then we'll commence with the meeting.
Anna, I was surprised. I thought you'd have a busier agenda. It's
Well,
manageable.
it's actually manageable. That's correct.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
It hasn't been that way much in the last couple of years, I can tell you that.
That's why I was saying.
Okay, so Noelle is here. We have a quorum and I've just made her co-host. So, quorum being present, I will call the meeting of Wednesday, January 26th of the Bellingham Conservation Commission to order. Pursuant to Governor Baker's signing of Senate Bill 2475, an act related to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, the Bellingham Conservation Commission will meet utilizing the Zoom online option. Instructions and invitations are available at the town website at www.bellinghamma.org. We'll proceed with the opening of the first hearing. Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold public hearing in accordance with the Mass Wetlands Protection Act, Chapter 131, Section 40 in the Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw on the notice of intent for the proposed construction of a 124,200 square foot industrial building with associated parking, access, landscaping, utilities, and stormwater management system located at Assessors Map 52, Lot 3, 206 Mechanic Street, Bellingham. John Cusick, Bowler Engineering, Southborough, Mass. has submitted the filing on behalf of Wayne Finnegan, Howland Development, Wilmington, Mass. The hearing will be held via the online Zoom option on Wednesday, January 26th, 2022 at 7.
Well, good evening, everybody. Appreciate you making the time for the application tonight. For the record, John Cusick with Bowler Engineering, and here with Wayne Finnegan. If you can just raise your hand, Wayne, everyone can see who you are. So we've got a very unusual, but I think straightforward application tonight. Essentially, we're looking to construct a warehouse that is entirely outside of the jurisdictional buffer zones. So why are we here? There's a bit of history with the property. During the development of the abutting warehouse, it was a Conroy warehouse on Mechanic Street. There was an infiltration basin constructed, and if I can share my screen, I can just do I can kind of show an aerial in if that's appropriate.
Absolutely. I think Noel's working on that right now.
There we go. Yep. All right. Bear with me. That.
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah, okay, perfect. All right. So long story short, the red parcel here, that is our property. And the history was when this development here was constructed. Again, it was a warehouse development that went in, I want to say early 2000s. It was before the commission. I don't exactly recall the exact date, but regardless, as part of their development, they constructed a detention basin that's located right here on our subject property. And that detention basin handled the flow from this development, and it was sized in such a way that it was sized to handle really all of the flow from a future development on this property. At the time it was in front of the commission, there wasn't a plan for what would happen on this property. It was many years ago. But you know, in the having good foresight, they actually made the basin of a certain size to handle future flows. The basin was constructed, and a certificate of compliance was later issued from the commission for that basin. Fast forward, nothing really happened, or any, excuse me. So based on that, the commission actually put a condition in the order of conditions, I believe, for this property, just saying, hey, because of this basin, we'd like any future development to come back before the commission. And I think that was agreed to by all parties. So essentially, because of the order condition on this piece, we're before you to show essentially the development that's happening here that will drain to this basin right over here. You'll see it on a future plan, but the wetlands are actually back behind the basin on my cursor. So they're really well outside the proposed developed area. However, the 100-foot goes through the basin that exists. So that's the history. So to show you what we're doing is this is the proposed plan, and I'll point out it's a little bit fuzzy, but that's the building I was just referring to. And this outline right here is the detention basin that I was referring to. And this is the 100-foot buffer zone, and it actually cuts back this way. So again, putting it in context, the basin is clipping the 100-foot buffer. So early on, when we found this, we talked to Ann and said, hey, what's the best way to really, you'd like us to address this? Do you want us to come in informally? Do you want an RDA? Do you want an NOI? And we agreed that would come in with a notice of intent. So that is the procedural avenue that we're before you tonight on. So that said, the application, I think it's pretty straightforward. We have 124,000 square foot warehouse. It's located at the intersection of Maple Street and Mechanic Street. The property is about 10 acres in size. We have access driveways on Maple here and Mechanic here. The way the building, it's more of a planning issue, but good for you folks to know. The way the building's set up is we've got the auto parking associated with the warehouse is located here, and the trailer parking is located on the backside. And really that was done based on a bunch of meetings we had with town staff and with the ZBA, just to make sure the building was in a way that actually presented better. I think folks would rather have seen the building and some parking that we're able to screen rather than have the loading facilities right out at the front of the intersection. So that's really the project. That the site, you're probably most of you are familiar with it, but it's a relatively flat site. It's been, I'll say, underdeveloped for many years. It's got Ed Moore's car shop kind of out at the front of the site, and I think over years there were some cars and whatnot parked in the back. Site's relatively flat, starts to slope off to the rear. Very good sandy materials, very deep groundwater, and no ledge. So it's one of the nice properties to actually try to work with. So when I had some conversations early on with Ann, when we were talking about, hey, what some of the concerns were, we brought up that, hey, this site, was designed. There was actually, this basin actually provided for more area than we're proposing to develop. But from discussing it with Ann, her concern, and it was a good concern, was, well, that's great, but that basin's quite old and standards have changed. So we just want to make sure that whatever design you come up with, you're factoring that into your design to make sure that you account for that. So, and I think that was a very good comment. So that's really what we did. So we felt really good from an attenuation standpoint. So we really wanted to focus on the water quality aspect of it to make sure that we were treating the water. So our drainage system that we've provided, I'm going to go up to one of the plans that were in your plan set. Essentially, we have a conventional drainage system throughout the entire site, catch basins, manholes, pipe conveyance system. But what we've done is we've routed the entirety of the parking lot. So all of the parking lot for the entire development circulates through and gets essentially treated and infiltrated based on the recharge volumes and water quality volumes in an underground system that's located here. So it'll come in, you've got some isolator rows on either side, and then an underground chamber system. The purpose of that again, is to make sure that we're taking the water quality volume and the recharge that we would have to provide as if this basin never existed, capturing it, treating it, putting that in the ground, and then having the larger storms then carry over into this basin. And then same with the roof runoff. The roof runoff is collected and all flows off into the larger basin. So I think from a wetland standpoint, it's pretty straightforward, as we're well outside of the buffers and have really good material. We're about 200 feet, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that. It's about 200 feet, the limit of work to the wetland area. So I think the next focus, we really wanted to make sure stormwater that's what your concern would be in treatment. So we really wanted to put a good foot forward on that. Based on the earlier conversation, we understand that this is your first time you're seeing that. You haven't gotten anything back from your peer reviewer, which I fully expect your peer reviewer will be reviewing this in detail. By way of what else we need to do for the overall project, we've filed with MEPA for an ENF. We trip a threshold, one threshold based on impervious area. So we filed an ENF with MEPA, and we just received the certificate for that this week. And we filed the typical special permit applications with the planning board. And we have our first hearing with the planning board on tomorrow. And as I mentioned, we have been previously in front of the zoning board. The reason we're in front of the zoning board is the property is split zone. You've got industrial and business. So we just went before them to be able to utilize this piece of the property as if it was industrial, to avoid an odd split, just by way of more of a background. So with that, I would be happy to go into any more detail or answer any questions you have, but those are really the highlights of the project.
Sure. Okay. Appreciate that, John. One of the issues that we had, of course, was we had never issued a permit for a basin on another piece of property, knowing that down the road that piece of property will be developed. So we asked them to model the size of the basin, accounting for 100% impervious surfaces on the Moore property. And they did that. So it's a big basin.
Yep.
But we really appreciate the opportunity to review the stormwater system with the upgraded standards. One of the questions I have is pertains to your infiltration structure. And if I'm not mistaken, I think upstream you have proprietary stormwater management mechanical structure. I think that that's appropriate prior to infiltration. I think I saw that on the plan. Is that?
Let's see. So essentially in here, that what's coming in this way, we've got detention manholes coming in, and then it comes into these isolator rows that are on either side. So it comes in from this direction and from this direction. So on either side, we have the isolator rows that are located here and here. And that's the purpose of that, is to pick up any of the sediment that doesn't get picked up in the deep sumps that are in the catch basins. So that holds any sediment that would come through here and here, and then it will come into the main underground system located in here to infiltrate the essentially the recharge volume. So we wanted to make sure that we handle that on this site, not necessarily off-site. Because again, as you mentioned, I think it probably is a bit of overkill, but I don't think it hurts, because that basin is huge if you go out there.
Yeah, it is. And so of course we're worried about meeting reduction of total suspended solids. I thought I saw some sort of a proprietary structure, but I guess not. So how would you maintain those two isolation trenches? Because if they get clogged by silt, will that create a maintenance problem?
Yep. Yeah. Like anything, you're absolutely right. It's only as good as it can be if it's maintained, and you provide the provisions in there to be able to maintain it. So there's essentially inspection ports that are located within there. And then also you have essentially little covers where you can go in and you can inspect it, and then you can pump everything out. So you can actually get like one of those vacuum sucks in there to suck out any sediments that would be within that area. So every one of those chambers will have the inspection ports and really clean out ports to be able to get inside of that.
Okay, so yeah, that's all called out in the operation and maintenance plan.
Yep.
So we'll need, we'll refer to that in the order.
Mhm.
Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. I'm not so concerned about volume. I mean, under the local bylaw, the 25-year storm, holding back that, frozen ground conditions should present no difficulties whatsoever. We'll wait for the final word from BSC, but according to my basic understanding, we're not going to have an issue there. Another thing, it really isn't jurisdictional to us. Have you performed any kind of testing like associated with the 21E to determine if there's any other kind of contamination on the site? Because I know Eddie Moore had a junkyard there for a while, and
Yeah, no, that you're absolutely right. We don't do that type of work, but I know that was something that Wayne hired a consultant to do environmental studies on the piece before he was interested in moving forward to develop it. And my understanding of the results of that, everything came back clean. And to be honest, I was probably a little bit surprised, like you, because you never know what you're going to find when things are stored on site. But I think everything was came back clean.
We did a number. This is Wayne Finnegan from Holland Development. We hired Rue Environmental out of Woburn. They've done a number of projects for us. We did our phase one.
Oop, Wayne, you went on mute.
you went muted there.
Just by waving my hand,
Okay,
realized.
a magic touch.
And nice to see you. I
Good
had
story, Wayne.
phone briefly yesterday, but we did. We went and we did a full phase two on the site. Done a number of test pits. We tested the underground tanks. Sites. Ed promised it was going to be clean, and it's clean.
Wonderful.
Good news.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So are there any other questions from the commission? Mr. Stanley?
Yeah, John, so just to be clear on the plan, the roof leader drains to the forebay all the time?
Correct. So
Okay.
essentially all of the pavement gets
It's going-
directed to
Yep.
this system before overflowing here.
But
in
the roofs are
roof-
direct discharge to the
That's correct.
to the-
Yeah, Yep.
the settling bay or whatever you have there.
you got it. Yeah, the roof system comes in here.
Yep.
And then comes this way. So it
All right, but that's-
bypasses that.
That should all be pretty clean.
Yes. Yep.
It won't be a corrugated roof, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
What's the status of the basin currently? I've got the ortho up, it looks a little vegetated. I don't know how it's been maintained, or not sure what the status of the vegetation is growing in there.
So the maintenance of that basin is the responsibility of Conroy. When we were moving forward with this project, we wanted to make sure that they were maintaining it properly, since now we're going to be relying upon that. And I know Wayne and his team had kind of reached out to the folks over there that maintain it, and just to make sure that things were happening and cleaned. So it is a vegetated basin. I've been out on site probably a couple times. I wanted to check it out after some rainstorms just to see how it was functioning. And it seemed to, everything that was going in, was going in the ground. It seemed to be doing its job from the times I've been out there after some storms. So I didn't see any evidence of it not operating as I think intended.
Mr.
I think that would be something we might want to have a look at, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, they're supposed to be able to provide us with maintenance logs. I think the last time that the administrator and I were out there, it was probably in 19, and we actually were out there while they were performing maintenance. But we haven't been out there since then, but they are obligated in accordance with ongoing conditions, the certificate of compliance to provide with maintenance logs. So perhaps we could request that Wayne, since he's had some interaction with them, ask them if they would be so kind as to provide the maintenance logs for that.
Thank you. And we did get in touch. The building changed hands recently, and there's a new property management group. It's a professional group. CBRE is doing the property management. So we've been in touch. We reminded them of their responsibilities associated with the original order, pointed that out to them, and they were very serious in taking those responsibilities on and making sure everything got handled. My understanding is they went to work to clean it and actually cleaned the wrong one.
Oh, no.
They will, but they understand their responsibilities and will certainly cooperate with the order and the
Yeah, at this stage of the game with an older stormwater management structure, we're not so much concerned about herbaceous vegetation. We want to make sure that we don't have woody vegetation growing in the bottoms or growing on the sides, because then you're looking at the potential for, failure due to roots.
I hope they didn't clean the restoration area on the other side that just got put in.
Oh, dear goodness. No, I don't. No.
There's another small basin along the driveway. That may have been what they.
Yeah, that I believe that's correct. And when we first started, that we did have John, as he mentioned, take a look.
Yeah, right there.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, this one's kind of hard to see if you didn't know what you're looking for. It's kind of down a slope, and this is the one you drive in. You can see it pretty easily. So
yeah,
that very well might be what they did, Neil.
Yeah, that looked like it. That looked like on the street view, it looked like it was a tad overgrown, but not too bad.
That detention basin in 3 different properties, judging from the triangle where it points that the property that's being developed right now is sort of covering most of it, but what's to the north there? Whose property is that?
That is correct. I think it was a tri-party agreement where it went on the Conroy piece, the subject parcel at 206 Mechanic. And I think this is the asphalt.
It is the asphalt.
Yeah, that's the asphalt plant. And there's an easement on the town's assessor's website. There's an easement over all of that.
Right. I don't believe they utilize that basin. I think it's just located there, but I don't believe they drain to it from what I could tell.
Mr. Chair, how many properties have we had? This is the first one I know of, I think, that where the detention basin hasn't been either completely on their property, the applicant's property, or it's been onto like a town common shared area or something like that, not into 3 private property owners' responsibility / non-responsibility / back and forth thing. Even if they're serious and they want to maintain it, who does what, and if there's a problem, who's responsible and who's going to take the lead and all that. How's that handled?
This is it. This is the first one. And that's why when we develop the order of conditions, and we do have a little bit of historical knowledge, having written the permit, we tried to anticipate future development and accommodate that by writing the permit in order to get the developer X number of years down the road to come back and make sure that their development would not degrade in any way. the stormwater management system, and that's why Bowler is here now. So
Right.
this is a first for us, Mike.
Well, I don't see how I'm not saying we can't, but I just don't see how you can require, for example, the asphalt company to help maintain it. If they have no interest, the property changes hands, and they decide to let half of what looks like about half the detention basin that's outlined there, this is the oval, go to pot, for lack of a better word, but degrade. And as much as the other two property owners might want to, who have access to that and maintain it, they are going to be forced to keep up. The property owner may not even want to let somebody go onto that part of the detention basin. They could refuse that, correct?
Well, I think I'm
No, there's
gonna,
there's an easement, Mike.
there's an easement.
To get to it, but also the whole detention basin is part of that easement, not just to get to it.
Yep.
No, the basin's in the easement. It's a
Correct.
drainage easement.
It's, yes.
Okay, I just want to be sure of that because, like you said, this is
Yeah.
a new thing, and I'm not trying to figure out. I got a different question when Neil's done that.
Yeah, it just, I'll
I'm
clarify
good.
a little bit if I may, but yeah, that I've worked on a few projects like that, so it's not very common, but you will see that. But the way it gets handled is through easements that get recorded to make sure that everybody's rights are established. And the order that the commission was wise enough to write, 20 some odd years ago, made it very clear, who owned the maintenance of that, which is the Conroy piece. And also made it clear that just to make sure everybody was on the up and up, that we, needed to come before you, whoever the we might have been at the time, just to make sure it wasn't, you weren't putting more water into the basin than it was designed for and those sorts of things. So I think the system actually worked the way it was drawn up many, many years ago, which doesn't always happen, which is nice.
Good. So if Neil's down, I have a question. The back corner, could you go back to the previous shot you had there on the site plan?
This one?
So from the corner of the proprietary storm management area, which is level with the parking area, correct, next to it?
So yeah, this is under like an underground system.
Right, so it's under the parking area that's shown on the other views of the property, correct? Where your cursor is, that's parking area, correct?
Correct. It's trailer storage for the trucks, but yes.
Okay, so where does that trailer storage / paved area stop approximately? If you could just move your cursor over to that area?
Yep, this is the paved area right here.
Okay, and then so it comes to about there. Okay, right about there. So from that corner point where it sort of squares off up a little bit, up there, right there, to the basin, the bottom of the basin, which if I'm reading the very faint, it's like 224. How many feet is that distance approximately?
So
I don't have a
from-
scale there that I could
yeah,
transpose.
so from here to here,
Yeah, roughly.
probably, I guess it's probably 70 or so feet, 75 feet.
Okay, looking at the contour lines on the bottom of the basin being like, if I'm reading right, about 224, and the top reading about 260 something, that's about a 25, 30 foot, 25 to 28, something like that foot drop in elevation. Is that correct? From the paved area down to the bottom of the basin?
Let's see. So the bottom of the basin is about 224, give or take. And then
It's
that's
256 at the top there.
So yeah, it's about 30 some odd feet, 32
Okay,
feet.
so 30 feet over a 70-foot run, 30-foot drop. Looks like with the contour lines, it's pretty steep there. What's the grading and erosion control plan on that curved section right about where the cursor is going downhill? It's going to be regraded, I assume, as part of the construction to level things off, compacting and all that's happening for the paved areas.
Yep, that's correct. So what's showing on this plan is actually the grades. So these are the contours, the
Right.
2-foot contours in here. It's a little deceptive because the existing is 1-foot contour, so it looks a little steeper than it is, but the proposed is 2-foot contours. So the limit of work, comes to about this point over here. This is the top of the berm, essentially. You can see the fence line right over here. So we're staying obviously outside of that. So we'd have erosion controls around, obviously around that area. We'd be digging down a little bit of a knoll right in here to do that. You can see the topo in that area.
So is there a retaining lip wall, just a paved berm on the top of the parking area? What's stopping runoff going down in that direction other than maybe grading it back somewhat?
So it'd be a full curb all the way around. So you've got a full curb that would capture any water. It's a 6-inch curb.
And then
you've
as it drops down from the curb towards the wetlands, is it just grass? You're just grading and putting grass in?
That is correct. That would be natural land back in
What's
here.
the slope? 3 to 1, 2 to 1?
Nope, 3 to 1. Anything new is 3 to 1.
But it's going down to hit a slope at the top of the berm. It's just continuing on straight down. It's not like there's a dip between where you stop the limit of work at 236 there and the top of the berm. It looks like it's right around the same, or maybe even a little lower. Is that right?
Everything will slope from a high point here to a low point here. So it
Right.
does.
What I'm saying is right where the limit of work stops, the dotted line there.
Yep.
That's going to hit, you said that's right around the top of the berm for the detention basin. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, the basin on this side starts coming all the way up. It's, it's steeper on the bottom where the basin is. Then it kind of flattens out where we're doing our work. You can see the way the contours. Try to zoom up a little bit more. Oop, I zoomed the wrong way. Sorry. So you can see down in here, the contours are closer together, which means it's steeper.
Right.
Right where we're working, you can see it's a little bit more spread apart. Not so much the proposed, but the existing. You can see it closer over here. So we're working in the flatter slope. Once where the slope gets steeper at this basin, which is probably a 2 to 1 if I had to guess, we're not working in that area. We're working in the flatter area here.
But just to make a comment, at that point, that the side slopes of the basin are vegetated.
That is correct, fully vegetated.
Where you're not disturbing, but the area you are disturbing, there you're going to be putting grass in, you're saying.
Well, everywhere existing is vegetated, correct? And so we'd have to strip the vegetation, obviously, where we're working, and then would revegetate the area where we're working. Everything downstream the vegetation would remain.
Right. But you said that knoll right where the D is in the center of the barred line, right there. That looks like a 250, is it Marine 252 for this top of that little knoll that you're digging into?
Yep.
Okay, but it's 254 for the edge of the parking lot. So aren't you actually building it up on top of the knoll?
So we actually, you are correct. Yep, we actually are filling that area. Yeah, so this area isn't a cut, it would be a fill.
So while it's not as steep as further down where the limit of work stops, my concern is that it looks like, and roughly if it's about halfway down to the bottom of the basin where you stop working, so that's 30 some odd feet, and you're dropping 15 feet down, roughly about half of that 30 feet total, give or take. That seems to me like a pretty good steep slope for just grass to go in when you don't have anything really stopping. And I'm going to use this S word because we're coming up to a weekend of it, snow, and all you have above is a curb. What's to stop somebody from plowing right over the end of that if there's no trailer park there and just going right down the hill with his stuff?
Well, I think for one, we've got a guide rail and a fence kind of along that area.
Oh, okay. I just heard curb before, and maybe you didn't get a chance to say that. Okay, so
Yeah, no,
you're gonna have
that slope. We've got a rail there as well. So,
end fence or just a rail?
I
Because
think-
if you have chain link fence, I think it's more of a deterrent we found in parking areas where a plow person might want to, or a front end loader might be scooping snow up and, oh, over the rail, it's a lot easier than over a fence.
Well, yeah, I think we just had the rail. We didn't need the fence. So I apologize. It's just a guide rail is what was proposed. I mean, if the concern was snow dumping in that area, we could certainly add some signs there. We could add a section of fence around that steeper corner here.
Is there some other snow storage area that's on the plans that I didn't see or you didn't already commented on, I missed?
Oops.
For this large a paved area that needs to be kept clear all the time, you can't be let go like during the course of the winter. Seems to me we usually have somewhere designated on the plans as a snow storage area for well away from the wetlands for the place to put stuff, unless you're gonna take it all off site every storm.
No, there's no need to do that in a site this size. But when you're looking at it in the front size, you've got plenty of of area along the front where they'd end up plowing to, and then plowing over here. You've got a very large grassed area located over here and located over here. Obviously, to your concern, you don't want people plowing snow off this side. We can certainly add signage or other deterrents to make sure that that doesn't happen, but there's ample room, so you don't need to plow snow in that area.
Well, Mr. Chair, I personally would like to see an actual designated, like we have on so many other plans before, where there's a large parking area, a lot of vehicles and stuff like that, designated storage areas, right, put right on the plans for the record. And while you could, I guess, put snow in the front area, I'm not sure how wide the grassed area is where the vegetation along Maple Street is, but generally, I don't think landscapers or, companies that have invested in landscaping in front of the property want to have it potentially dug up with the snow plows shoving dirt and snow and everything onto a landscaped area. So I don't know, maybe there's plenty of room there. It's 20 feet of grass before you hit the trees. I don't know. But
It's
But
pretty,
there
it's
should
pretty
be no dirt associated with the plowing and stuff.
never. But if a plow doesn't do a nice neat job, whatever, pushing on, they generally wouldn't want to ruin their nice landscaping that looks pretty close to where the paved areas are. So that's why I would like to see, if not, my request would be that with a designated area, which is going to be acceptable to whoever builds on there and maintains it going forward, as an area that snow would be put, not just hoping that the plow company will put it somewhere that's not near the back corner. And a few signs may or may not help. That's certainly good in addition to whatever. But I mean, I just think it's a standard thing we ask for.
It is, it's a standard thing. And I know that BSC is familiar with the kinds of things we're looking for. That's probably going to be in his comment letter, but we've raised the issue here. So I think what we'll do is we'll ask Mr. Cusick to look for something that he can, in addition to some sort of signage or fencing to prohibit. And I understand what you're saying, Mike. Well, John, what we don't want is we don't want amounts of snow pushed over the bank where during the melt, it can create erosion and sediment transport into the basin. That's standard for us. So
Plus, where all those trucks are parked and trailers up above, it's not going to necessarily be clean forever. There will be oils and other materials that are not great to have go over the slope and eventually get down into the wetlands too.
Yeah, no, we don't have an issue whatsoever with designating some snow storage areas and other deterrents. So we can certainly do that and provide that to you guys.
okay. So what I'm going to do, I mean, because we are up against another hearing, and so knowing that our peer reviewer has COVID and we've taken a first cut at it, I see no insurmountable problems here. But there are a couple of, housekeeping issues that the applicant can perform to, smooth out the concerns that we've addressed. I'm thinking about moving to February 23rd on this to give everybody ample time to address the issues, look at the peer review, comment to the peer review. Does that seem reasonable to you?
I think so. We don't have the comment letter yet, so we're going to need to get the comment letter, address it. They're going to need time to review it. So I think that makes some sense.
Okay,
Wayne,
thank you.
any issues on your end, but that seems logical.
Yeah, what we don't want to do is we don't want to have the night of the hearing, responses to peer review come in and we're like, well, we can't even consider them. So,
Yep, no, I agree completely.
okay, in that case, I'll entertain a motion to continue the hearing to February 23rd at 7 o'clock.
So moved.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, I'll do a roll call vote on this. Mr. Stanley,
Aye.
Mr. O'Haron,
Aye.
Mr. Norton,
Aye.
Ms. Leos,
Aye.
and Amy.
Close.
Martin.
I know who you're trying to say.
Yeah, Ariane,
Thank you. Somebody knows.
goodness. Okay, by unanimous vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care of yourself.
All right, great. Thank
Just
you
try
all.
to stay COVID-free from
Yeah.
here on out,
I'm good now.
huh?
All right, nice seeing you all.
Good night.
Good night.
Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold public hearings in accordance with the Mass Wetlands Protection Act and Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw on the notice of intent for the proposed project consisting of toe embedment of an existing armored slope in order to provide for a stable slope foundation located in the buffer zone to border vegetated wetlands. The filing also proposes 1,330 square feet of buffer zone restoration for buffer zone disturbances. Project is located at Assessors Map 64, Parcel 212, Lot B, 0 Lovers Lane, Bellingham. Mark Arnold, Goddard Consulting, Northborough, Mass. has submitted the filing on behalf of Rick Terrell, South Center Realty, Milford, Mass. The hearings will be held via the online Zoom option on Wednesday, January 26, 2022 at 7:30. Apologies, we're a few minutes late. I see Mr. Arnold is here. And oh, Mr. Duff is here. So let's take it away.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Mark Arnold again here with Goddard Consulting on behalf of South Realty LLC and Rick Terrell for the Lovers Lane Armored Slope NOI. So this is a project is part of the larger Lakeview Estates project, which I'm sure the commission is familiar, particularly the Lovers Lane dead end cul-de-sac roadway, which is at the end of the upper end of the development that's part of Lakeview Estates. So this NOI was filed because of a slope that was constructed with large rocks along Lovers Lane to support the roadway. And during the site review, after the wall was constructed, it was determined of two things. One, it was supposed to be a vertical wall, but during the roadway construction several years ago, they put in an armored slope. And second of all, during the review of the slope, the geostructural engineer did note that there were issues with particularly the toe of the slope in regards to concerns for long-term stabilization. So the goal of this NOI is to one, permit the actual slope itself, and two, to provide additional embedment in the sense of backfilling the toe of the slope with additional soil and compaction to ensure that the slope can remain stable for the long term. So that's the goal of this project. And as the chairman did mention, there is buffer zone impacts that do occur to bordering vegetated wetland, which is between lots 81 and 82A. So what I'm going to do now is, if I can, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show plans here. So this is the current existing conditions plan for the armored slope. So you have Lovers Lane right here. You have lot 81 and 82 here. Both of these houses are under construction and being completed. You have a vertical Versalock retaining wall here. There's a boulder wall here that's actually tiered right here. And then we have what's actually just an armored slope in the sense of it's very large boulders that are placed on a grade of probably 1-to-1 and interspersed with smaller rocks fairly steeply down to the bottom of the slope. There's a double row of silt fence down here, which wraps around the project here. And part of this work, there was additional disturbance that occurred to the buffer zone from this wall construction here, which is this hatched area here. And so part of this NOI is planning to restore all that as well while we do the restoration at the toe of the wall here, if the commission allows the project to go forward. So as the chairman mentioned, there is additional buffer zone disturbance that does occur from this. In our NOI packet, we did list basically the existing impacts beyond the approved limit of work is roughly 2,914 square feet. The additional disturbance that's necessary for the toe work is approximately 549 square feet. There is 1,330 square feet of temporary disturbance at the toe of the slope, which we plan to restore with seeding and shrubs along the toe. So the final disturbance in the buffer zone is approximately 2,110 square feet. 470 square feet of that is in the 0 to 25-foot buffer zone. So part of this NOI, in the sense of we have a roadway that's already been built at the top here. This pavement is in, infrastructure, drainage is all underneath this roadway. And to remove the slope, you'd end up disturbing the same disturbance that's happened already. And so in regards to what's happening here, the disturbance, net disturbance is still very minor in regards to getting this slope actually protected at the toe so that it can remain stable. We did provide in our letter a letter from the geostructural engineer, which their name is UTS of Massachusetts. Kevin Martin is the geostructural engineer who reviewed the slope. Although I'm not a geostructural engineer, it did make a lot of sense from my geostructural engineering classes that I have taken with regards to the slope and in regards to it being consistent with his design. So this is the proposed plan in the sense that we have a limit of work that's shifted slightly closer to the wetlands here to allow us to backfill the toe of the slope here. You can see these slopes to create a toed slope along the edge, and that's mainly to basically embed the toe of these lower stones on the slope. So that way, any type of slope failure wouldn't occur just because of the mass of the soil that's down there. And the letter that's from the geostructural engineer does address that, and I can walk the commission through that if they want to. But we did want them to kind of list the issues and also confirm that the plans would address it. And the geostructural engineer would be involved in reviewing the actual construction work as it's built to ensure that everything is done as required. So that the limit work is slightly shifted in right here. Everything else remains the same. We prepared a restoration plan, which is, this is again strictly just buffer zone. So it's not as complex in regards to your hydrological questions, but we have a buffer zone restoration plan in the sense of what's supposed to occur. In the sense of we have a planting plan, we have a minimum of 4 inches of topsoil prior to seeding. There's a planting layout of where things are going to be planted. There's shrub clusters of at least 3. We have a New England conservation seed mix to be used for herbaceous vegetation to establish the ground. Slopes over 2 to 1 are going to have erosion mats installed as part of the restoration work. 2 years of monitoring, biowetland scientists to ensure that the plantings all establish, and we have 75% vegetative coverage within the restoration area. So this green hatch is the restoration area. The reason why we didn't really do an exact planting plan is because once everything is done, there are some native vegetation within, particularly this area right here, which is going to be inside the work area, but our goal is to preserve as much as possible. So there's going to be some working around native shrubs, particularly right along this edge right here, to make sure that we leave those alone and give them breathing room. We do have a little bit of restrictions that said we're not putting any woody vegetation within 5 feet of the vertical retaining wall here in particular, and the exposed stones here. And that's just to ensure that we don't get any long-term root damage to the foundation of the wall. But we still have trees and shrubs both going in. So we have black cherry, red oak, red maple, and then we have some high bush blueberry, meadowsweet, silky dogwood, and witch hazel. So we have a mixture of wetland and upland, which this area can definitely support based on the vegetation that's out there, along with our New England conservation seed mix. So that's the notice of intent. In that show, I did submit to Anne the certified receipts via email. So I believe she's got those for the record. So I believe we're good there. I did get one call from a butter, and I did follow with him and left him a voicemail because he didn't return my call after I've gotten back to him. But we did hear from one butter about it, just so I explained to him exactly what we were doing here. But that's the NOI in a nutshell. Robert Duff is here if there's any questions. With regards to stormwater, there's really no change hydrologically with regards to this. It was going to be a vegetated area with a vertical wall. It's going to be an arbored slope that's fairly open and to runoff, and sense of infiltration, water can get down in between the rocks. So from that respect, there's not a change hydrologically here that requires any modifications to the stormwater design. So I'm glad to take any questions from the commission.
Okay. Mark, could you enlarge the screen right where you are now a little bit? Okay, and so the property line for the area that you're working on is, I
So
see it.
my cursor right here,
Yep,
that's one property line right there. That's a lot 81s. And then this is the other one right here.
and to the north?
To the north, technically, I believe it's right here. This is the edge of the right of way.
Okay, so that area is the open space. So there's going to be a greater impact into the open space for bringing out the total slope, right?
Correct. So I believe the vertical retaining wall that was supposed to be right here was also in the open space. So yes, there is a slightly larger impact to the open space on this finger.
All right, well, I'm gonna want the commission to think about that. Right now, we have a situation where the wall is constructed. It's long-term viability has been called into question. Obviously, we don't want to see a situation where if the wall fails, the road fails, then we'll have, you know, massive transport of silt and stone into the resource area, the open space. But you know, they are on the open space. So we're going to ask the applicant to try to come up with a possible mitigation strategy to offset the fact that, you know, that the wall not being vertical has impacted the open space. I think that's reasonable. The other thing is I want to get everybody out there to look at this. Now, the administrator and I have gone out, we've looked at it. It's there, we have problems, but I want the commission to take a look at it and also to look at the areas where supplemental plantings and restoration are proposed. I think that's important. There are certain things that I think the administrator and I can do and report back, but I would like a number of members to take a peek at this. And then I have one other thing, and it's, now if you could back out just a little bit, Mark. We have a problem with two of the lots, one abutting and the one next to it, lot 81 and lot 80. Those are as-built plans you're showing there. And those plans are not consistent with the plans of record and no amendment has been filed. And in fact, the wall behind lot 81 was to become a block wall and extend across the length of lot 80. And when we were out there, it's grading right down to the back of the lot. And these houses were constructed. The commission never got a phone call. And this is kind of consistent with the way this development has gone, where you get a permit and they tend to go out there and just build whatever they want. And I know Mark is new on this, but the perfect example is the filing that we have now, because the vertical wall was a boulder wall and now it's in danger. There's substantial danger. We have two house slots here that were permitted, and lot 81 under substantial review, and it's not built the way it was permitted. And so, and I know, Mark, this has nothing to do with you, but I would really appreciate it if you would talk to the developer and ask him how they're going to address this.
I understood. I knew it had an order of conditions, but I've not seen an actual I don't think I got a copy of the actual approved plan.
Yep.
So I couldn't compare it. So now that you've told me that, I will make sure that I get copies of those plans and we'll provide whatever's necessary to make sure those get addressed. I'll talk to Ann offline about what she'd like to see if for any type of filings to clarify the work on those lots.
Yeah, we're not shooting the messenger. But
Understood. Again,
we're not happy. Okay. So the problem we're going to have now, and the problem we're going to have with the next filing, which is also a Goddard filing, it's an ANRAD, is that we're going to get a foot of snow or maybe more on Saturday, but we really, I think it's very important that members of the commission take a look at this. The likelihood of us being able to do it prior to the snow is kind of remote. So Mark, what I'm gonna request from you guys, I'd like to schedule this for the second meeting in February, but make every effort to get out there prior to that so we can review it in the field before that hearing. Does that make sense?
That does make sense, yes.
And so what we'll do is, hopefully it's not going to be like it was 5 years ago and we get a foot of snow every 5 days. Snowmageddon. But at this stage of the game, are there any other questions before we move on? Yes, sir, Mr. Stanley.
Well, I mean, again, not to come down on Mark here, but that small block wall on lot 81 was supposed to be constructed with no disturbance to the open
Absolutely
space,
correct.
none, zero.
Mhm.
Absolutely correct. And we spent
That
hours.
that is a serious problem. That was gone over ad nauseum about not any disturbance over the property line onto the open space, none. The fact that it's been disturbed and has to now be restored, and I'm confident will be restored poorly. Just like all the other construction that's going on in this site, not to mention the fact that that armored slope was put in haphazardly, and now it has to be cleaned up and redone. They just threw it in there however they felt like it, and now it has to be cleaned up. And I do have one question on that. How are you going to get equipment down there to do this work? That's quite a ways down.
So I think the answer would be the work that needs to be done at the toe of the slope can be done with either a mini excavator, which can be lowered down using a larger excavator, or a larger excavator could reach everything from the top of the slope. It's probably about the reach. I mean, for the largest excavator on site is probably around 30 feet. So I think they can get to the toe with the bucket to do the grading, because this is basically strictly backfill in the sense of it's going to be the actual literally just lowering of soil to backfill and compact it, so they can lower a little compactor down there and roll it, and then use a machine from the top to reach it. If they have to get a mini down there, they could lower it down there into that area to access it. It's not the most ideal access routine, but it is possible, and I've seen it done where they have to lower machines down to odd places just because that's the only way to get a machine to that location.
Well, and now
And
one
then
other,
the last thing I want to get on record, I'm not happy with the 2-year monitoring. I would want to go to 3 at least.
3 years
Because
is our standard.
I know it's going to be put in like crap.
Well, not
And most of
necessarily.
it's going to die.
Not necessarily, because
Yeah, no, necessarily with these people.
well, no, it's going to be overseen by a PWS, and we have had some success with buffer zone enhancements and wetland creation when it's overseen by an independent party.
Well, I'd still like to see it go 3 years, because
Oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's our,
I just don't trust these people as far as I can throw them.
no, Neil, that's our bylaws, 3 years, and we always get 3 years. But, we've worked with the applicant's representative on numerous wetlands restorations, and they've been very successful. And he's taken oversight and monitoring for 2 others that were constructed by other people, and it's been pretty successful. But I hear you 100%. Ian and I were furious when we were out there with what we saw, but I'm going to offer one more suggestion.
And if lot 81, if that house isn't built right, we should explore the option of having it removed.
Oh, well.
Or at least, my view would be at least have the building departments weigh in and or the planning board and say, you know, you didn't do as part of their plans, because it's not just the Concom that was affected if they didn't build per the plans, correct?
If it's not built to the plans, it should be pulled out and rebuilt to the plans,
Well,
period.
yeah,
Rip it
Yeah.
all out, build it again, right.
Okay, we'll check with,
We'll
I'll
speak
check with Tim.
inspectional services. We'll talk to inspectional services. We'll find out. We know that we got reports on the construction of the wall, but what I was going to say is the rain gardens have not been installed. And so my understanding is that the rain gardens that haven't been installed yet are going to be installed in the spring. And there's an easement at the bottom of lot 80 and lot 81. And it's outside the resource area where potentially a smaller piece of, right there, could go up along the constructed wall for lot 81 and work that way. It's just an alternative. But I agree. We spent hours on the construction of that wall, and we had guarantees that it would be able to be constructed from behind the wall. And we all expressed our concerns that that would not be possible. And as it turns out, our concerns were valid. Now, and we'll check with inspectional services. At this stage of the game, I think that we're going to, the lot 80 and lot 81 are separate issue. What we need to do is we're going to address the issue of the roadway and the restoration. And this is exactly why I want people out there to look at this, so we can determine if the avenue that's proposed is correct. I mean,
Mr. Chair, didn't as part of the information that Ann sent out or Amy had on the Dropbox have photos of this area? Were there not photos? I remember seeing pictures of the riprap and the disturbed areas on both sides, 81 and 80A or whatever it is, 81A.
I have some additional photos, Mr. Chairman. I'll submit those to
No,
Ann
these were
tomorrow.
already, we've already seen them. I
Just
wanted
for
to see
help.
if you could call those up. Do you have those,
Oh.
Mark?
Wow.
I do. Hold on one moment. Let me just.
Because that's what caught my eye was the side slope, the area.
So, let me
restoration
just-
area between-
I'm just pulling up photos now. Hold on. Here we go. So this is the side slope of lot 81. This photo was taken a while ago. So so you can see the foundation for the house is in, but the house is all up right now, sided decks in the back. This was taken back in the summer, so that's why it's all green. So this is 81 here. This is where this slope, this wall ties in. They did tie in this armored slope in here on this corner. Here is the armored slope right here. So you can see the large boulders here. And the concern is the towing of these bottom boulders there. Let's see if there's, what other photos I have here. This is the back side of 81. So that's where that wall ends right there. So this has erosion mats on it now. That's there.
if I may, at the end of that wall, that was supposed to tie in to a boulder wall that extended across lot 80. And Ian will be able to provide you with the plans of record on that.
No, you can get them from Gary and
Oh,
Howard.
you can get it from
Yeah,
Gary.
I'll get the plans. Yeah, and I do want to just double check because I might have I may dig into some of the old photos to see what's there because I know some of the area behind 80, lot 80 particularly was heavily disturbed. I think maybe prior to the filing because that area was disturbed when this wall was built back then. So some of the area was previously disturbed, particularly behind lot 80, I believe, based on the aerial photography. So, but again, we'll provide some good information and a good timeline and evidence that because again, we want to make sure that the commission has things satisfactorily done. This is another shot. This is the other end of the retaining wall here of armored slope there. This is the side of 82 right here. This is that boulder wall there. I have some newer ones if the commission wants to see those, but I have to dig them up from another folder. But those are general conditions there.
the ones I was referring to, the picture I was referring to, I just found it's in the Goddard Consulting letter that was in the attachments for this hearing tonight. There's one
Ah,
which
yes.
shows the top of the slope, the haphazardly built armored wall, and then lot 81, it looks like, with the retaining wall in the distance, and the slope looks pretty steep over there. My first reaction was, how are they gonna, guarantee no erosion over there? But there are bigger issues right now. Obviously, they didn't stay out of that area like they said they would. So, Mr. Chair, I'm not in any rush to move this along. I agree, we do need to see it, but spring is coming, and I'm not in any feeling, after the way the developer has been mishandling this project and ignoring our requirements and things they agreed to. I feel no obligation to rush to do anything for them.
Well, yeah,
I know we have to. If we have to do something by regulation to make sure we meet our responsibilities, fine. But beyond that, I'm not eager to do anything. But,
okay, I appreciate the sentiment. However, we have a legal process to go through.
right, definitely.
And what I'm looking at doing here is trying to get us out there as a group, because this is important enough, and we have an opportunity to correct some mistakes. That's what the applicant's representative is attempting to do here. And so I was going to move this to the second meeting in February. And if we have an opportunity to go out there, we'll do it. Obviously, if there's still snow cover or conditions don't allow, then we'll continue from the 23rd to a time when it's a little bit more, when it's easier for us to see things. I mean, I don't think that's unreasonable. But believe me, when the administrator and I were out there, we were pretty upset about the whole situation, but now we have an opportunity to make it right. And it's just in lot 80 and lot 81, and Mr. Vice Chairman, you're absolutely correct. We spent hours attempting to make that construction in such a way to be minimally invasive, and yet it didn't work. So now we'll investigate what we can do, but right now we have an opportunity to try to take some corrective action. That's all I can say. So that being said, I'll entertain a motion to continue the hearing to the evening of February 23rd at 7:30.
So moved.
Noel,
Second.
okay, Ariane. So there are fewer people here. I'll try to do this by voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed.
Okay, by 3-2 vote, the hearings continue.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So you voted. Who else voted no, right?
Okay.
I might want to suggest that we can be careful about spacing these.
Closer.
Yeah.
Okay,
Did we make you vote, Mr. Chair?
you did
No.
not. Close, but you did not. All right. Noel, Ariane, and Brian voted in the affirmative. Neil and Mike voted in the negative. Okay. Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold public hearings in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40. The Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for the confirmation of 944 linear feet of delineated bordering vegetated wetlands located at Assessors Map 20, Lot 12, 79 Maple Street, Bellingham. Ryan Rosine, Goddard Consulting, Northborough, Mass. Has submitted the filing on behalf of Anne Marie Hill, 79 Maple Street, Bellingham. The hearings will be held by the via the online Zoom option on Wednesday, January 26th, 2022 at 8. Apologies, we're a couple minutes late. Okay. See, Ryan is here.
Yes, good evening. My name is Ryan Rosine with Goddard Consultant, and I'm here for the ANRAD on behalf of Anne Marie Hill at 79 Maple Street. Do you mind if I share my screen and show the plan?
No, please.
All right. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so here on the lot, it's approximately a 5.1 acre lot. There's a single family home located on it, and we're seeking to confirm approximately 944 feet of linear feet of BVW. There are no vernal pools certified or potential on the site. There's no other resource areas besides the BVW. It's not located in ACEC. The Charles River is to the west, but the closest that it gets to the site is approximately 385 feet. So it's outside of the riparian zone, and it's not in female flood zone or anything else. So
We should go locus. Does everyone know where this?
Oh, yeah. Ryan, could you put up a locus map for the commission?
yeah, sure thing.
And
So this
that's
is
our that's conservation property to the west, correct?
yes, it is.
Yes.
Yep. Yep. So here is the property here. If you'd like me, I can go to quickly get to Google Maps, and if you're still wondering where it is, but
I think in order to clarify for everybody, I mean, I think some of us know exactly where it is, but yeah, please,
okay. Yep. Give me just a second.
of course.
So I'll just zoom out a little bit there. So you have 495 here.
Oh, wait a minute, Ryan, you're not up?
No, you can't see this?
No, the view didn't refresh. We're still seeing the plan.
Oh, okay. It must be slow then.
You can try unsharing and then resharing your screen.
Okay, I'll try that.
Yeah, sometimes that kick starts it.
Oh, all right. I didn't know that.
I'll remember that in the morning.
Can you see this now?
There you
Yep.
go.
Okay, so I'll just zoom out a little bit more. So you got 495 here. And this is Maple Street. Just down here further is where that first NOI was that you had this evening.
And there's
There's a
the
Maple-
power plant. You can
Maple
see
Gulch Country Club. Yep.
the power plant.
Yeah. And then, if you go further up, you're getting into Franklin and Medway over here. So,
Okay. So over the years, we've done quite a bit of work out there. We've delineated a lot of wetlands. What we find is, it's like a climax red maple swamp, and the groundwater is high everywhere parallel to Maple Street. Now, I'll say this with the last two hearings that we just had. This one, we're definitely going to need to go out and look at. And
yeah, absolutely.
right now, I don't think there's a way we're going to get an auger in the ground.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
No. And I think that in addition to soils and hydrology, vegetation and hydrology, we'll definitely need to look at soils here. And so I'm going to suggest the same thing that we did for the previous two hearings. One of them was because of peer review. The last one was because of conditions. I think this is going to be in the same situation. Obviously, we don't want to create unavoidable delays, but there's no way we can make an informed decision without a site inspection. It's flat. Groundwater is high. You know, it might be helpful also to know what the intent to do is, even though there's no application down the road, there will be. It might be helpful for the commission to know what might be proposed. Other than that, do we have any questions from the commission?
We didn't have any topo on that, did we? I looked through the application. I don't remember seeing topo. My first reaction was the wetlands delineation, semicircle, C shape, whatever. So it just heads towards the house and just sort of dies out. I didn't know if it continued up or if there was a slope there.
It's flat.
Flat.
It's flat.
So I'm just kind of curious as to why, if it's flat, it doesn't continue on closer to the house.
Oh, that's what we're gonna check.
That's-
Logically, speaking.
Well, we're gonna go look at it.
Okay, just curious. That so if seeing a topo might have helped, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be part of the process, I guess, until they get to.
Oh,
that.
we can ask Ryan to call up a topo layer. I'm sure that when the survey was done, someone went out there and picked up a few benchmarks, right?
Yeah, I'm not completely sure, but I can sure find that out for you and
Sure.
and do that. But
But I mean, did you do the delineation personally?
no, I did not. No, I believe another Nicole Hayes from our office, who's at PWS, did it.
Okay, so let's see what we have for topo. Talk to Nicole. We know her work. Ask her, if our recollection is correct that it's really flat, because if we were out to a site, 300 feet to the north just recently, and it's really flat, the whole area.
Mhm.
So, but to answer Mike's question, yeah, we'll take a look at that. Are there any other questions from the commission? Is there any other questions from anybody else?
I didn't know how to interrupt, sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
My name is Andrew Ercolano. This is my wife, Emily. So the reason my question is very general. So we are 59 Maple Street. So we share a boundary at the northern part of the plan that Ryan was showing before. There was some tagging going on over there, I'm assuming for water level. And Mike, to go to what you said before, the whole topography in everywhere is an enigma. There's puddles and ponds everywhere, but it's relatively flat. And I was just wondering if there was more information on what is happening with that area. I didn't see any agenda or anything. And I just got the notification of abutters in the mail the other day. So I was just kind of concerned something was going to just pop up all of a sudden.
Sure, I'll address those questions, but I'm
Thank
going to
you.
ask Ryan to call up the plan.
Can you see my screen right now or no?
No, we're seeing
Okay.
I think you're just sharing the one screen. I don't think you're sharing your.
Okay, I'll have to do it again. Sorry about that.
So let me talk about that, the process here.
There we go.
So, okay, this is the plan we were looking at previously. So you are the property immediately to the north?
So there's actually the town's property is between that where Ryan's cursor is, right there. Yep. It's about, I think, 60 feet over is our property.
Okay.
And then there's two in between there.
Okay, so we know where that is. When an owner decides to develop a piece of property, what we encourage them to do is, prior to developing the property, identify the resource areas in advance. That way, it'll do two things. It'll let them know what their constraints are, and it will let us know that the boundaries that they're showing on their plans are accurate, because everything that is done here is going to be verified in the field by us. And we may not be professionals, but we're expert. So if you're concerned, and I can't say that it would be possible, but on occasions, property owners will occasionally allow a butter to come along with us and see how we do our work. Now, Ryan, I'm sure can't speak for the property owner, but we're going to ask him if that might be amenable to the property owner. Here's a person who has a vested interest, wants to see how the process works, doesn't mind getting his feet wet, and see how we conduct our business. So would you please ask him if that would be possible?
Yeah, I can absolutely ask the owners and figure out if that's all right.
Okay.
Thank you.
I will need their contact.
So we're going to need your contact information.
So you can email me. My email is right on the town website.
Okay.
Under
Under
conservation.
And I'm sorry, your name is Ann?
And yes, and Matthews. Mhm.
And I hope it works out, because we like it when interested parties can come and work with us and understand what we do.
Yeah. And we're architects, so we like this stuff.
Well, based on what I think ground conditions there are, it'll be difficult to put anything in there unless it's on a slab, but we'll see.
Yeah, maybe on a barge.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right. So, are there any other questions? Okay, I'm going to recommend that we do the same thing we've been doing. Knowing that we need to be in the field to look at this, and knowing that we're going to be getting a foot of snow or more. It's always iffy this time of year. Again, we try not to create unavoidable delays, but weather is something that we are allowed to defer under our bylaw. So I'll entertain a motion to continue the hearing to the evening of February 23rd at 7:45.
Didn't want to go 7:31.
I'll
So
tell you
moved.
what, hold on. Let's.
All right.
I withdraw the motion. Let's make, I'll entertain a motion to continue the hearing to the evening of February 23rd at 7:32.
Do I hear 7:33?
Okay, so moved.
It's 7:32. Well, because if
So that's mighty precise there, Mr. Chairman.
well, every minute counts.
That is right.
That Eastern time or Central? Huh?
Pacific. All right. Did someone make a motion? Noel?
Move it.
Yes.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Mike. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, that's a unanimous vote. Okay. So, good.
Thank you,
Ryan.
Ryan.
Ryan, you've got a couple things to check out for us. Please do that. Communicate with our administrator, and we'll move forward.
Absolutely. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
Got it.
All right,
Thank
good night.
you, Ryan.
Okay.
We just have 2 minutes.
Minutes.
Yes.
Well, we're waiting for the other shoe to drop.
I always wait for others to chime in first. I don't be greedy. Come on. A couple little December 8th. Page 3.
On which ones?
December 8th, page 3. It's the continuation of the hearing for Mechanic Street roadway.
Page 3.
The third section, paragraph, whatever, starting with this is a 15,000 square foot lot with a 2-bedroom house.
Oh,
That paragraph, the last line, there will be straw, you know what's placed along the 50-foot buffer.
Well, what do geese do?
I don't know. They must wassel along.
okay.
Anyway, and then the next hearing, Lakeview, 51 Lakeview Ave, further down the page there, it says about 2/3 of the way through the paragraph, the area will be returned to a paved parking area construction, however, will require crossing the town right. I think you just want to say, however, it will require crossing the town road right away, just to make it a little more.
Area. Wait a minute, say again,
So paved parking, it will be returned to a paved parking area construction, comma, however, will require crossing of town right away. I just thought if you said, however, it will require crossing the town right away, just throwing in the word it, just as a suggestion.
Yeah.
Mike,
Got it, Mike. Thank you.
thank you. That one's good for that. I'm good all otherwise for that one. And then the other one real quick, hold up, hang on. The January 12th one, scroll down, hang on. First hearing, Locust 30 Locust Street, second paragraph, first sentence. Probably want to pluralize that since you're talking about 3 test pits. The applicant is seeking waiver from the 3 test pits and location of each stormwater management structure. Each of each stormwater management. Well, no, actually, I guess I
It's
think
test pits.
no, that's right.
correct. You're right. I misread that. I apologize. That's
Okay,
fine.
your
And then-
comments, the pits, man.
Yeah, that's right. I don't want
We'll forgive you on that one, Michael. We will
Thanks.
forgive you.
All right. The 4th page, second paragraph.
Oh, brother, you're still going though. Okay.
Well, you want this one. Believe me,
Thank you. I'm so
Amy,
glad you read them.
you will love this one, Amy. The engineer,
Okay, bring it to me.
engineer James Almonte communicated that the slopes around the units vary, but is generally flat and likely flow would be not channelized. I think you just want to switch that around and say would not be channelized.
The flow will not be channelized. Very good.
And then a little further down, I love allow also, but I think you want to say allow. The 3rd line in the next paragraph, roof infiltration requirements and allow for 50% infiltration instead of allow.
Gotcha.
Must be a word thing when you dictate. You can do it. It takes both. And then one more question. This is more of a question. 2 more sentences down. The current plan is in compliance with the ADA requirements.
Americans with Disability Act.
Disabilities.
Well, I know
yes.
that's what it stood for, but I don't know why we referred to that when talking about hydraulic calculations.
Well, no, it's not. It's the plan is compliant. It was one of Frank's comments that some of the paths
Right. Okay.
were
Yeah,
not
I remember
ADA
that.
compliant, and they've addressed that.
Right. Okay. I couldn't remember Frank's was the one who was talking about that. I do remember now that you said that he was talking about paths and stuff, but I just wasn't clear because he was talking about the hydraulic just before that. I don't think ADA. Maybe there's another acronym for that. Okay. Cool. I'm great. Thank you very much for that, Amy.
No,
Well, I'm
Thank
not
you
saying
for
I'm-
reading them, Michael.
I'm not saying
I
I'm
appreciate you
great. I'm
reading
saying
them.
that all the minutes look great. Thank you, Amy.
Okay, so motion to entertain the minutes with the minor amendments.
So moved.
Motion to accept, not entertain. I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes with the minor amendments.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairperson.
Second.
Michael, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, by
Aye.
unanimous vote.
We did
Yeah,
basic.
Ariane got in there at the end.
Yay.
No, she was on time. That was me.
Oh.
Did-
So
signatures.
MACC,
Yeah.
last year, it was very successful. They had numerous meetings on weeknights, some during weekdays, on the weekends. It was well worth our time and effort, very instructive. In fact, it's probably the best MACC meeting. We got more done, more review here than we have in person the last probably 2 or 3 meetings. So very successful.
But you didn't get to walk all those stairs
And we don't get lunch.
That's it.
and no lunch. The lunch is the best thing there.
So the workshop, the seminar agenda is not been posted yet, but I'm sure it's going to be posted very shortly. So please seriously consider attending any. You can attend.
You sign up and pay and then get reimbursed. Is that how we're doing it this year?
That's what we're going to do. So you would register and you ask for an invoice, and then you'll get it to me, and we'll get the town to pay MACC directly. That's how
So
we're-
you don't have to pay in advance.
That's right.
All right.
Yep.
So good. Good. That's
I
it.
think
Nothing
that's
to
it.
sign, no warrants to sign.
No, we are
No.
all squared away with signing this week. So
But moving ahead, we can do a quick update on Locust Street. 3 days after our meeting, the Monday after our meeting, they were out there digging test pits. So we held the line. We got the information. The soils look good, but that information will all be distributed.
So they got a hole in one. They were able to dig up the course despite all the stuff that they said that they couldn't do.
They dodged the golfers who were out there, yes.
A big to do about nothing. That's what I said.
No golfers.
Okay. No, it's good. It's important that we have all the information because as we all know, once the plans of record have been recorded, they're part of the project. And during construction, if someone finds an unexpected soil profile and it necessitates changes, it's onerous on the applicant and on the commission because we're talking about amendments, re-notifying the butters, opening up the whole project again. So this is going to work out much better. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Is the planning board meeting tomorrow night going to have the 206 Mechanic Street, the first hearing tonight on them?
It is.
yes,
Are they doing it all Zoom or are they doing live too? Not that I want to shoot down there, but
Amy can answer that one.
We are doing Zoom.
okay. Because I can tell you right now, I go by that site every time I go to work and I cannot see another truck entrance right opposite.
Oh, no, that'll be, no, Mike, that'll be great. Right there, right at the intersection. You couldn't plan that any better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody who's commuting from the train station or anywhere else at that time of night is going to be happy to wait while trucks turn and coming in and out and all the additional traffic we have off of Maple with the those Amazon guys and ladies zooming down there. So yeah, that'll be great. Yeah, great spot for it. Yeah.
Wait till the apartments are finished.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when I was looking at that, I was looking at the driveway coming out on 140 and how it goes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be a fun for them to turn out of that and come out on the 140.
That's why I want to see what the planning board has to say tomorrow. They hopefully will jump all over that, but yeah.
Well, I don't expect the planning board to take very much action because, again, peer reviewer has submitted nothing, and they're not going to do anything until they have something in their hands to look at.
Oh, okay. Amy, how much time did they allocate on the agenda for that tomorrow?
We don't specify time allotments,
What?
but no.
Well, that's why
they
some of the
don't.
hearings go to 11 o'clock.
Let me ask this: where is it going to be on the agenda?
We haven't had one of
It's
those in a
this,
while.
I believe it's the second agenda item. We
Okay.
have 353 Maple Street first. Actually, it's the third, because then we have Prospect Hill Estate, so it's the third agenda item,
What time do you start? 7:30?
7 o'clock.
Okay. All right. So about 7:30 probably. I'll be pulling in. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't. Stay safe in the storm.
Yeah. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, good evening all. Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Bye. Thanks.